This is your Ken, the Yoshkin, bring you a video on, well, shoot, a month's topic later. Well, cut me some slack. I was at least gone all that month, so I wasn't able to actually make a video on this. But this is the video on Fortnite and Sony with, well, their crossplay stance. So, first off, unfortunately for me, I'm not very good at Fortnite. At least I can say on console without having any PC experience. At least in squads. I'm better in duos and solos, but I'm not that good. I still gotta build better. But instead of having Fortnite gameplay, I'm gonna have some Splatoon gameplay of the secret boss with Agent 3 in the mind of Agent 8. I'm not saying the gameplay is better than what I could do in Fortnite, but I had a pretty bad time with this boss fight. It took me about an hour and 30 minutes to get the pattern down and actually kill it reliably. It was fun though. One of the complaints I have about the boss is that the explosion blast radius is super big, man. It reminds me of, honestly, MW2, but that's a topic for another video. Let's talk about how Sony's stance on Fortnite with crossplay and even cross saves between third-party services that have nothing to do with Sony other than being on Sony. So Sony doesn't like Sony doesn't want you, or it's both. Sony doesn't want you or doesn't like that you can have an account on the PlayStation and play it on a different account other than PC and mobile. They don't care about PC and mobile, but for whatever reason, if it's on their competitors' consoles, they care. So let's say I'll use a different game other than Fortnite. Let's say I have a ton of skins on Overwatch on PS4. I have an Xbox One, and I want to link their account so I can have both of their skins. This isn't a stance. You can't do this in Overwatch, right? I can't move my skins, even to the PC in Overwatch, because let's just use Sony as a bad guy. Sony says we don't like it. You can't do it. Nuh-uh. That's in our terms of service. People are royally pissed because people who started their account on Sony didn't have any warning about this. It wasn't in any reading. It wasn't in any terms of service or anything that they would have their accounts bound to the PS4, and even if they unlink their accounts and actually get all the data that way, it is still bound to the PS4 by this imaginary line that says, yep, you're staying here. You can't go over across the street to the Nintendo Switch or to the Xbox One. Yep, you're staying here. Now, first off, yes, they do have a right to do this, but does that make it right? No. It's somebody else's data. Even though it's on your platform, you shouldn't be holding it accountable for it. But I'm gonna go digging a little deeper than that. I'm gonna talk about crossplay. Now, originally, during last generation, I think that's the 7th generation of consoles, I could be wrong. During the last generation, Sony reached out to Microsoft and asked them, can we have crossplay? Microsoft originally said, no, I don't want crossplay. Keep in mind, Sony was in dead last compared to the other two, where Nintendo was raking it in with the Wii and the Xbox 360 was doing a pretty good job until the end, when Sony actually beat it in sales. Sony was losing, they asked Microsoft, and they said no. That's the end of story, basically. I remember people pointing this out since Microsoft asked Sony the same thing, and they've been saying no. But I'm going to talk about it like this. I'm going to word it like this. If Sony was originally for crossplay, like all good intentions for crossplay, they would have stuck to their guns, regardless if they were winning this console generation or not. If they really wanted crossplay, not because of the potential revenue they could have got from Xbox players, But because they wanted the community to be together and play together, they would have never have done what they've done. They wouldn't have locked the Sony out of, well, the Sony player base out of the Nintendo Switch and Xbox player base, essentially. If you see somebody change their mind to fit your ideals, 9 times out of 10, even if you have a pride, and even if pride gets to you, you usually just accept it. And I was like, all right, thanks for coming over to my side and having the same ideas. I know I'm the way. But Sony, because they're winning, and they're winning by a very large margin, more than 2-1, doesn't care. Like, it was like, this can hurt. They, I remember a former Sony president or Sony rep, I'm just going to say it was Sony rep because I can't really remember. He was like, this is all because Sony doesn't want the little bit of money that probably would come, well, a little bit in terms of what they're making come, to go away because, well, if you don't have a PlayStation 4, you can't play with your friends, and most likely people who have a PlayStation 4 isn't going to go buy an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch just to play with you, unfortunately. They know that because they're winning. Now, here's my stance on how I feel when a company is winning a console generation. It's like a long race. It's like a super long race. 9 times out of 10, they're going to get their lead at the start, and they're going to just take it all the way there, no matter what happens. So Sony's sitting pretty, basically a lap ahead of Microsoft at this moment. It has nothing to worry about for the rest of this console generation. But that's just basically what the same thing Microsoft did last console generation, even though they came in third, technically. But it wasn't until the end of the console generation that Microsoft actually lost, essentially. But they had a great run during that 10-year-long race, right? A decade-long race. So they didn't really, I doubt that they really cared that the PlayStation outsold the Xbox. Here's what Microsoft did at the beginning of this generation. Remember how they were going to have an always online console? Remember how Sony made fun of them for that and was the more pro-consumer option? Remember how things changed in the past few years where Sony has been denying access to mods, no crossplay, not even cross saves between third-party services that they don't even really help make. They just have on their platform. You see, when they start winning, and this is any major company when it comes to having their product and having multiple of it, when they start winning, they start being less pro-consumer due to the fact that they already have money, and the people who don't want to support Sony now, it doesn't matter. They already got majority of the fan base, majority of the money they are gonna get, and they're gonna continue getting more. This is why, like, Ryzen and Intel, if I'm not, this is like PC stuff and I might be getting it wrong. This is why Intel made not as good processors as they could, and Ryzen came out with one, and then Intel was like, yeah, I gotta start making some actual good processors now, some good CPUs. Well, aren't they the same thing? Look, it's late at night. I'm trying to get this out. I'm trying to make sure this is right. But essentially, I don't like when a company's with a landslide victory win. I think it is not good for the consumer, and it's not good probably for the industry either, due to the fact of they essentially, their word is bond until the end of the console generation. But here's the thing that really bites me. It's not like when the generation ends that they go back to their old ways and trying to be pro-consumer. No, they take that with them into the next console generation, and it bites them in their butt. Now, I already said that earlier with Microsoft, but Sony has done this before when they had their best-selling console and possibly one of the best consoles of all time, the PlayStation 2, and came on the heels of PlayStation 3, and it was at a $600 price. And when people asked why it was so expensive, Sony was like, get a second job if you can't afford our console. And that's why they were losing majority of the 7th generation. It's the same with the Wii and the Wii U. Nintendo thought that the Wii U could sell off the Wii's name because it sold over 100 million copies. And it didn't even sell 15 million. When they're winning, they stop thinking about how the consumer will react, how they would buy, if it's good for them or not. They start thinking about all of that and thinking about how much money they can make. And that's not bad. I'm just saying, well, they should at least pretend to care about us and actually, well, give us the things that the majority wants. Sony, I'm saying it now. It's not gonna be the end of the world if you gave us crossplay between Xbox and Switch users. It's not. Honestly, it'll do wonders for your PR probably now because you let us have it. But right now, it's only getting bad PR. And if you continue this way, because history will repeat itself most likely, you might not start off very good next console generation. That'd be the worst thing I could think of. Because honestly, I don't want Nintendo, I don't want Microsoft to dominate the next console generation. I don't even want you to dominate the next. I want you guys all to be basically neck and neck. Due to the fact of when there's competition, they have to fight for your money and they have to be pro-consumer about it. I'm all in it for the games. I don't care what company wins. I just want good games and a good service. Whoa! That's it for the video. Hope you liked how many fails I have with the Fighting Agent 3. Ooh, she's tough, man. I'll lie to you not. She is tough. Took me, I already told you how long it took me. But this is Yorkin, the Yoshkin, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.